to the channel. So something a little bit different for you this week. About a month ago, a company reached out to me on YouTube and said, look, we've seen your videos, love what you're doing, and we'd love to know if you'd be interested in reviewing one of our products. Now, I don't run a review channel. I haven't done a single review on the channel at all. My channel is all about being out in the field, looking at different conditions, looking at different locations, trying to get some nice shots, showing you the shots, showing you how I captured those shots, talking about the settings, talking about the composition, not reviewing at all the products because you know, I've got a lot of products. I review quite heavily the products that I use. So you know, my bag, my tripod, my camera, all the gear that I use. I do quite a lot of research into any of the gear that I have before I go out and buy it. Anyway, they reached out and said, would you like to do a review of our product? And you would have known by now that the company is K&F Concepts from the description in the video. What K&F were not aware of was I actually already use one of their products. That product is normally sitting on the camera that you're looking at me through right now, and it's one of these. It's a variable ND filter, and I don't even know if you can see here, but that variable ND filter allows me to spin the filter on the front of the lens and enables me on the video camera to control how much light gets through to the sensor. Because when you're shooting video, you want to have as stable camera conditions as possible. If I'm shooting, let's say 25 frames per second, I want to be shooting at 1/50th of a second shutter speed, and this lets me do that. So I bought this, goodness, about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe even longer than that, maybe 6 months ago. I purchased it. K&F, of course, have no idea who I am when I purchased this, but I use this every day on this camera, which is a Sony ZV-1, and I have no issues with it. I probably wouldn't use the camera without it. It's on my camera permanently. It lives on the camera. So very happy with it. And when they reached out to me and said, would you review any of our products? At the time I thought, well, okay, if I elect to do this, then it would make sense for me to review the filters that they have for their still cameras. I already like the video filter that I'm using, so they sent me some filters, and this just arrived in the mail. So I thought, well, let's take this out right here, right now, whilst we're talking about this. I've got my trusty knife. And let's open this up. This is not an unboxing video, by the way. This is just a review of a product. And put my knife away because this is super sharp. I thought, well, let's just see what they've sent me. So, okay, here we go. In this box, there's a card of some sort. I'm assuming these are the filters, so let me just tip these out. And some packaging. Don't need that. Okay, I got 2 boxes. In here is I'm assuming what is a grad filter, graduated from I'm assuming an ND grad down to clear. You've seen me use these before on many of the shots in the videos, so we're going to have a look at this. And they've also sent through, I'm assuming this must be the filter holder system. So let's take this out of here for a sec. Drum roll. Yeah, here we go. So there's 2 boxes in there. In here is let's open this big one. A holder and adapter rings. Okay, so that makes sense. So that's got like a little magnetic lid here. I'm impressed. That's what it looks like. They've sent me an adapter ring. How does that work? Oh, I like that already. The one I use on the adapter ring has a pull, spring-loaded pull button on the side here. This one, you push the button, and as you push the button, it opens up the ring. I think that's how it works. Yeah, it does. I like that already. That's quite good. Inside we've got adapter rings. Okay, so there's a set of adapter rings here as well. That's going to be interesting. Okay, chuck all that back in there. And so that must mean that this is, it says lens on it. I'm assuming this is, yeah, it looks like a 10-stop ND. There's some instructions here. I did look on their website to find out what their filter system was all about, and they do have a kit, which I'm assuming this is what the kit is. Quite a nice little leather pouch. Step 1, open. Step 2, pull on a rope. That's cute. I like that. And there's our filter. That feels pretty solid. Anyway, we'll come back to this anyway later. Is that how their system works? You just pop that back in here, or have I done it wrong? We're going to work on this, and then this one here, I'm assuming then is the same sort of concept here. You have a leather pouch, open the leather pouch, pull on the rope, and there's your filter. Very nice. And as I was right, it's a graduated filter. So, excellent. Now, a review wouldn't be a review if you didn't actually take these out and shoot with them in the field and look at what results you get. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take these out, I'm going to put them on the camera, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion as to would I keep these in my bag or not. Let's take them out in the field, let's check them out. Okay, let's go.
Well, good morning. So we've come out this morning specifically to have a look at the K&F Concept filters. I've come out to an area that I know which has this gorgeous little shipwreck right in the middle of Sydney Harbour. It's actually called the SS Airfield. That's AYR Airfield. I think it was actually originally launched as SS Cornwall, but it changed its name to SS Airfield sometime through its lifetime. I think it's 1911 that the ship was built, and it came out to Australia the following year. It was designed as a ship to supply some of the US troops that were based around the Pacific area. So this is back in the 30s and 40s. So once it had finished its lifetime doing that, it came back to Sydney Harbour, and it actually ended up as a shipwreck here, right in the middle of the harbour. It's actually quite a scenic little shipwreck, and it's quite nice to shoot. I don't know if we're going to get any decent conditions today, but the actual mangroves that are growing inside the hull of the ship give it some nice shape, and on a nice day with some nice light, it gives it some nice colour. Anyway, we've come down this morning because I want to test out these K&F Concept filters that I've been sent. I'm going to test two filters today. I'm going to test their 10-stop ND filter, and we're going to test their graduated ND filter. So what I might do is I might just take a shot of this scene with no filters at all, so that we can have a benchmark shot to look at, and then we can look at the difference between that shot and a shot taken with filters. Now there may be some joggers that come around today because I'm actually standing on a jogging path. I'm standing right in front of an apartment building, so I'm trying to keep my voice down a little. But let's get a first shot done with no filters at all, so that we can have that as a benchmark, and then we'll come back and we'll look at each one of these filters and get some shots with them. Okay, let's have a look at the first shot.
Okay, so here's the first shot, straight out of camera, no adjustments whatsoever, no filters in front of the lens, and it's exactly what you would expect to get if you took this shot, with a bright sky, a fairly dark sort of foreground with the shipwreck itself, and also the mangrove bushes on the right, really in quite sort of dark shadows there. Now, if I took this shot into Lightroom, what I would be doing is lifting those shadows, which you can see here has revealed quite a lot of the detail in the shipwreck, and also in the mangrove bushes themselves. At the same time, I'd be looking to probably drop the highlights in Lightroom to try and just recover a little bit of detail in the sky. Fairly straightforward measures in Lightroom, and that's all I've really done here. So let's get back to the video and let's see what's next.
Okay, so there's our first benchmark shot. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the filter holder onto the lens here in front of the camera, and we're going to try the first shot with the graduated filter. Now, I actually do quite like this orange tab on the filter holder. You flip open the leather satchel here, pull the tab, and there's your filter. I've been using a filter system where I had to dig inside the leather pouch and get fingerprints all over the glass. Here, you just pull this out and it's ready to go. I quite like that. That's quite innovative. So it's quite simple with these filters. All we're going to do now is we're going to install that filter into the holder. It'll slide right down there, and then that filter holder is going to install on the front of the camera. The other thing I like about this is it's got this push button system to install on the front of the lens. So let's get this done. And we'll frame up the shot, and we'll try this graduated filter. You can possibly see there the graduation on the ND. So let's get this installed. Back in a sec. Okay, the graduated filter is now installed in front of the lens here. I'm using a 1635 right now, and I'm about 20 millimeters at the moment. My settings. I'm sitting at ISO 50 f9. And what this graduated filter has allowed me to do right now, I've just noticed, is increase my shutter speed. And the reason for that is because obviously it's taken a lot of the bright sky and dimmed that light from the bright sky through the ND filter. The foreground doesn't change much, but the bright sky is now balanced with the foreground. And it's actually given me quite a nice finished shot here. So I'm going to take this shot here. I've got my remote control, so we'll just take this shot here. Okay, that shot's in the bag now. Let's have a look at the shot straight out of camera. We'll look at it versus the first benchmark shot. We'll look at this with the graduated filter, and you'll be able to see what a difference this makes in balancing the shot up. So we don't have a dark light. We have a very evenly matched shot now. And we've got some really nice reflections, and the reason I'm interested in increasing my shutter speed is to try and capture more of these reflections on this very still water that's right in front of me. So let's have a look at this shot here. I'll put up the shot straight out of camera first, and then we'll just do a few minor adjustments to it, and we'll do a kind of finished shot to have a look at the shipwreck here just with the graduated ND filter. Let's check this one out. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at that original benchmark shot. No filters, bright sky, and a darker foreground. When we introduce the graduated filter, what we get is a much more balanced shot. Did you see the difference? Okay, let's go back. Have a look. Here's the original shot, and then we change it. Here's the shot with the graduated filter. Quite a difference, isn't it? And that means now we have a much more balanced shot, a little bit darker sky, not so bright as before. We've been able to extend our shutter speed a little bit, so we've picked up a bit more detail in the foreground, and then when we take that into Lightroom, we can lift the shadows, make a lesser adjustment in the highlights, and it's a lot less work to bring that balance to the frame. So we can end up with a final image with a lot less work. Okay, let's get back to the video. Okay, so you've seen the first shot there with the graduated filter, and you can see right away how much balance that brings to the shot by cutting down the light that's in the sky, which means for me, you can increase your shutter speed and get that reflection in the water, which is really what I was looking for. Now what I'm going to do, 7 o'clock in the morning, we've got enough light now, the sun's up. You wouldn't think so because of this cloud in the sky, but the sun is up. I'm going to fit the 10-stop ND filter, and that means we're going to have a very long exposure. That's going to have the effect of blurring clouds in the sky and also giving us some reflections in the water. Again, with the 10-stop ND, open the satchel, pull the tab, and there's your filter. I really quite like that. Now, I did ask the question of K&F Concept where they source their glass. Because glass is really pretty important when it comes to these filters, and I was pretty pleased to hear that they do source the glass from Japan. My understanding is most of the best glass manufacturers are based in Japan, so that was a tick in the right box right away. This feels like a chunky piece of glass. This is, my understanding is it's 2 millimeters thick. It feels pretty hefty, pretty solid. I wouldn't want to drop it on the floor, but I'm pretty sure if I dropped it on the floor, it would have a fair chance of surviving a drop. Don't try that at home. Normally with a lot of these ND filters, you'll see a foam insert glued to the back here, and the reason for that is when you install that on the filter holder, the foam insert stops any extraneous light coming in from the sides. K&F handle this a little bit differently. What they've done is they have a felt strip around the edges of the actual filter holder itself. So when you slide the filter into the holder, the actual felt strip stops the light getting in, which is quite innovative, and it just means that you have a nice snug fit when you install this into the holder. And that 10 stop now is very, very dark indeed, as you can see. So what we're going to do is put this on the lens now, which is probably going to give me a couple of minutes worth of exposure. We'll take the shot now. We'll get a little bit more light in the sky. We'll take this shot. In fact, what we might do is take this shot first without the graduated filter, and then I might take another one with the graduated filter in front of the 10 stop ND. So let's get this installed, and we'll get the shot set up. Okay, so we've got our 2-minute shot in the bag now with the 10 stop ND. Let's just put that up right now, straight out of camera, and have a look at the raw frame. You'll see from the frame that the sky is quite a bit brighter. We've got a lower half of the frame a little bit darker, sky a bit brighter. The 10 stop ND did its job. What to look for in these shots is a lot of the cheaper filters and that use lower grade glass quite often have a bit of a color cast over the shot. It could be a magenta color cast, it could be a green color cast, but the more expensive glass and the higher sort of quality level filters that you can buy tend not to have that cast, so you don't have to do as much work in post-processing to correct the color that's cast over the shot. So have a look at this one in raw, straight out of the camera, and you can have your own opinion as to whether you think it has a color cast or not. Okay, so here's the shot straight out of camera. What you'd expect to see: brighter sky, a little bit darker foreground, and then we take that into Lightroom and we can lift the shadows and get some good detail back in the shot, along with the reflections that I was looking for as well. Now, if we just head back to that original shot straight out of camera, I was talking about color cast, and what I wanted to do was compare 2-3 shots to see if there was, first of all, any color cast, and here's shot 2 coming up. And secondly, was it consistent? Was the camera imposing any color cast, or was it consistent across all 3 shots? Here's shot 3. What I found was it was very consistent, very little in the way of color cast, and also very consistent. Okay, let's head back to the video. Okay, so we've seen this shot straight out of camera with the 10 stop ND now. We've seen a potential finish shot there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to install the graduated filter right over the top of that 10 stop ND, and that'll give us the effect of bringing down the brightness of the sky again, but it'll give us that sort of more ethereal, blurred look on the sky, and give us some, hopefully some nice reflections on the water as well. So let's go and install that, and we'll set the shot up for the long exposure. Okay, so what I've done at the moment, and our setup is we've got the K&F Concept 10 stop ND filter right in front of the lens. In front of that now we've got the graduated filter, and I've made careful use of that filter. I've made sure that the graduated filter is really only affecting the sky. The advantage we have here is that it's a fairly flat horizon line. We don't have mountains. We do have one building in the distance there, which is fairly tall, but in our perspective it's not too much taller than the ship itself. If we had hills, mountains, and then let's say a horizon line that was quite flat, quite often with a graduated filter, that graduates the whole scene, so you'll end up with a dark mountain along with a darker sky. I've tried to make sure we don't do that too much here, so I've just got the graduated filter just taking most of the light out of the sky. Keep an eye on my time. I'm going to run this exposure for 3 minutes, so we've got 3, 2, 1, and that's the end of our exposure. So that's a 3-minute exposure with 10 stop ND, graduated filter in front of the lens. So we should have a little bit of movement in clouds, some decent reflections, and of course the SS airfield looking majestic as always. So let's have a look at this shot straight out of camera, and then we'll do a few minor tweaks to it to bring up the finished shot, and I'll put the settings up with the shot as well. Let's check this shot out.
Okay, so here's that shot straight out of camera. The grad and the 10-stop ND. We don't have to do an awful lot of work to this one. It's just a little bit of raising of the shadows, and we're almost at the finished shot. There's that original shot again, and what I've done is done 3 comparisons. So once again, the first shot here, moving on to the second shot here. The only difference there was some little cloud movement in the sky, and then coming to the third shot right there, and again cloud movement. So same settings for all 3 shots. Let's get back to the video.
Okay, so we're pretty much done here. We've tested the grad, the 10-stop ND, combination of both, different shutter speeds, different exposure times. What I'm going to do now is head back to the office and process all the shots so you can see them all. You've seen them already, of course. But we'll go back and we'll form some final opinions, some pros and cons of the filter set, and wrap it up from there. So let's head back to the office. We'll see you down there.
Okay, so we're back, and so now you've seen the shots. We've completed a bit of a test there. All the, I think I said earlier, all the shots I did, all I did to do the completed shots was just a few basic adjustments in Lightroom. I really didn't go to town in Photoshop, etc. So all I did there was lift some shadows, play with some highlights to get a reasonably presentable sort of finished shot. So let's just quickly talk about some pros and some cons of the filter set. It seems high quality. The quality of the glass, it seemed chunky, it seemed robust, it seemed like if you dropped it it's not going to break. Don't test that, but the quality of the glass seemed very good. I've actually got some notes written down here. I didn't see any visible color casting in the raw shots. That's why I did a couple there, so you could see that it wasn't just a fluke in one shot, that over 2 or 3 different shots it was very, very consistent, so that no visible real color casting that I needed to correct in Lightroom afterwards, which is great. I love the filter holder with a little push button system. I've spoken about that a few times. The range of the filter rings, I think with this kit you actually receive 8 different sizes of filter rings which screw onto the front of your lens. So if your lens is an 82, you can screw on an 82. If it's a 49, you've got a 49 there. So there's a whole range from 49 up to 82, 8 different sizes, which I thought was a major plus. The packaging was great. If you're really into packaging, you'll love this. It was very well packaged, very well put together. So you really can't fault packaging. I think companies have really picked up their game in packaging nowadays, and you really can't fault it at all. This little rope system on the actual filter system is excellent, because as I said during the video there, the system I've been using, this actually just pushes back down, and that pushes the rope down again. But the system I had been using, you had to dig around in there with your fingers and get fingerprints all over the glass, which you're then cleaning. The more you handle filters, the more opportunity there is for you to drop it. If you're going to drop a filter, it's when you're taking it out the pouch, putting it on the filter holder, and installing it on the camera. You want that process to be as streamlined as possible, and this was pretty easy. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to cover in the pros. I couldn't really come up with a lot of cons. If there was one con that I could mention, it would be that the system doesn't have an integrated circular polarizer. I'm used to having one that does use that. But there is an easy workaround. All you need to do is, if you're using an 82mm ring on your lens, you can buy a circular polarizer that screws straight into your camera, set your circular polarizer, clip the filter holder on, and you're off. So you can integrate a circular polarizer into the whole system. It's just not part of the filter holder. So it's the only con I could really think of, which there's an easy workaround. So
there it is. That's the system. I had a good time using it. The question is, would I keep it in my bag? The answer is pretty easy. Then, I mean, the answer is of course I would. I got good results from it. It was a fairly overcast kind of day, so it wasn't great conditions that we shot in, but the results were perfect. The results were fine. The 10-stop was great. The graduated filter was great. The system, the filter holder was great. I can't fault it. So yeah, absolutely, it's going to live in my bag. What I'm going to do is put a link in the description below so that you can go and investigate all these for yourself. I'll put the K&F Concept website link in the description. What they've done is they've actually sent me a coupon code to pass on to you. So if you decide you want anything off this site, they have tripods, they have bags, they have filters, they have a whole range of camera accessory equipment. Enter the coupon code Klick, so that's K-L-I-C-K, Klick Photography. So if you enter the coupon code Klick into your cart, they're going to allow a 10% discount until the end of July. I thought it was pretty good. So 10%, coupon code is Klick, K-L-I-C-K, and you get 10% off anything on the website. Okay, that's it, we're done. And just to finish off, since you've stuck with it for so long, I've got one more bonus shot for you coming right now. It was the very last shot of the day. I got a little bit of color in the sky, a little bit of light, and it was a 3-minute exposure with the 10-stop and the grad in front of the camera. So here's a shot to finish. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.